Okay, so we've already learned about what a midpoint is. So now on a number line, so now we're going to learn more of how we use the definition to help us answer questions. So we know that the midpoint is still the point in the middle of a line. So we did it on the number line, and you would count to get to the middle. But sometimes we're going to do it not on a number line. So we're just going to have a picture, and they're going to tell us that a point is a midpoint, and we're going to have to write an equation. So last week you learned about segment addition, and in segment addition we used part plus part equals whole to like write an algebra equation with an x in it. But now since we are using a midpoint as well, you could use part plus part equals whole, or you could use part equals part. So we're going to talk about, well, how do you know when you're supposed to do part plus part equals whole, or are you supposed to do part equals part? So you're going to read the question. Example number 1. E is the midpoint of DF. So they have already given you a picture, and they're telling you that point E is the midpoint of the whole line. So this means it's right in the middle. That means that this side of the segment and this side of the segment are the same length. Okay, so since they are the same, I like to put an equal sign over the midpoint, so I know this side and this side are equal. Okay, keep reading. DE equals 9x minus 15. So we're going to label that on segment DE. So from D to E is right here. So I'm going to put 9x minus 15 right on that section. We know that EF equals 5x plus 21. So from E to F, I'm going to put 5x plus 21 plus 21. Now I'm supposed to be finding the value of x, DE, EF, and DF. So that's a lot of stuff for me to find. So I'm looking at the information they gave me, and I am deciding, is this information, like, is 9x minus 15, is that part of a line or part of a segment, or is it the whole segment? So when I'm looking at my picture, I can tell that the whole segment is all the way. D to F, that's the whole. Do I have any information about D to F? No, they didn't tell me anything about with like an X value. They didn't tell me, oh, DF equals something with X in it. Okay, so I don't know what the whole is. I'm looking at 9x minus 15. Is this a part or a whole? Well, I know that's a part because it's only half of the line. So I'm going to label that a part. And 5x plus 21, is that a part or a whole? Well, it's only half the line. So that's also a part. So since I don't know the whole, I have to do part equals part. They gave me 2 parts, and I know that both of those sides are supposed to be equal. So I'm going to be doing a part equals part equation. So what I'm going to write is this one side, the 9x minus 15, equals the other part on the other side, 5x plus 21. And then I'm just going to solve for x. That's the first thing I always have to do, is solve for x first. Otherwise, I can't figure out any of the other stuff. So we're going to put x's on the same side. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to move the 5x. So minus 5x. Got to do it on both sides. This cancels out. I'm left with that positive 21 over there. Negative 15 is still hanging out here because that doesn't have an x in it. And 9x minus 5x is 4x. Okay. Now I need to move the regular numbers from the left side over to the right side. So I got to do the opposite. It says minus, so I'm going to plus. 15 plus 15. 15's cancel out. 4x is left here. 21 plus 15 is 36. And then last thing, I gotta divide by 4. So I'm gonna get x equals 36 divided by 4 is 9. Okay, so I'm gonna put 9. That's what x equals. Once you have the equation, the solving part should be pretty easy. It's straightforward, and it is 9. Okay, the next part is they want to know all the individual pieces of this line. How much are they without an x? So you're going to have to plug x in. So first they want to know what's DE. Well, we said DE was right here, 9x minus 15. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to plug in 9 where the x is. So I'm going to do a little arrow so you can see. 9 times 9 minus 15. So you could type this all in the calculator at once, or you can do it in steps. So I know 9 times 9 is 81 minus 15. 81 minus 15 is 66. So that's DE is 66. After I plug in the number for x, what do I get? I get 66. That's that side. For EF, well, I guess EF was green. For EF, well, that was over here, the 5x plus 21. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to plug in 9 for that as well. So 5 times 9 plus 21. Okay, well, I can type all this in at once in the calculator, or I can do it one step at a time. So 5 times 9 is 45. Bring down the plus 21. 45 plus 21 is 66. Oh my gosh, we got the same thing. Well, that makes sense because those two sides of the line, we said that this side and this side were supposed to be the same thing. So when I plug it in, I should get the same number for both of those parts. And I did, so that tells me I did it right. Yay. Now the last thing is DF. Now DF, we said already DF was all the way across, the whole. Okay, even though we crossed it out, it's the whole thing still. Now I don't have any x's to like plug 9 into to get that number. But I do know it is the whole thing, so I know if you take the two sides and you add them together, you should get the whole thing. So 66 plus 66, because those were the two parts. Part plus part equals whole. And 66 plus 66 is 12, so 132. You would type that in the calculator, or you can do it in your head. Okay? So that's if you're doing part equals part. You got to put one side equals the other side. Easy. Okay. The next example, first of all, this example doesn't have a picture, so I'm going to have to draw my own picture from this description right here, where it says K is the midpoint of JL. So first of all, I can see it says K is the midpoint. That means K should not be on one of the ends. It should be the letter in the middle. So I'm going to draw my picture. I got a point, and then I draw a line, and then I got another point, and then I have a point in the middle because we're talking about midpoint. Now, what was the letter of the point in the middle? K. K is the midpoint. So I'm going to put K. And then J and L are going to be the letters on the ends. So if there is no picture, that should be the first thing that you're doing, is drawing your own picture. So now I can go through and label my picture with the X stuff. So it says JK is 2x plus 1. So I'm going to put 2x plus 1 between J and K. And I can say right now, is that a part or a whole? Well, that's only part of the whole line, so I can label that part and make my life easier. And another thing I did not label that I should have labeled was that K was the midpoint, so I'm going to put the equal sign over K just so I know it's the same on both sides. Okay, so we did JK, check. JL, well, from J to L is all of this, is 3x plus 8. Okay, now was that a part or a whole? Well, let's look. It went from one end all the way to the other end. That's a whole. If it went from the end to the middle, that's a part. But from end to end, that's the whole. Check. Okay. So it's we still want to know the value of x and then all this stuff. So this one is different because this time I only know one part. So am I going to do part equals part? No, because I don't know what the other part is. They didn't tell me anything about it. So what do I do when one of my parts is blank? Well, I know that the two parts are supposed to equal each other. So if I know this one part is 2x plus 1, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write that on the other side, 2x plus 1. Because they're supposed to be equal. Now, as far as the equation goes, I have a whole this time. So if I have a whole, I have to write an equation with whole in it. So instead of part equals part, I'm going to do part plus part equals whole. And then I'm going to put, because I have 3 different things this time, so I'm going to have 3 different things in my equation. So I'm going to plug it in. So one of my parts was 2x plus 1. Plus, what was the other part? Well, the other part was the same thing as first part. 2x plus 1, because we had to repeat it. Because they only told us one part. And then my whole was 3x plus 8. And now I'm just going to go through and solve this equation. So this time I'm going to combine my like terms first, because I have x and x on the same side, so I can put those together. So 2x plus 2x is how many x's? Well, that's 4x. And then I have a plus 1 and a plus 1. Well, I'm going to add those together. 1 plus 1 is 2. The other side, there isn't anything to combine together, so that stays the same. Now I can start moving stuff. So I'm going to move the 3x to the other side. This is gone. 8's down here. The 2's here. 4x minus 3x is just 1x. I need to move 2 to the other side, so minus 2 minus 2. This cancels out, leaves me with 1x. 8 minus 2 is 6. Do I have to divide if it's 1x? No. If you divide by 1, you can, that's fine, but you don't have to. So final answer is x equals 6. So I'm going to put that in my blank up here, 6. To find the rest of these things, I have to plug in the 6. So here we go. JK was right here, this part. So I'm plugging in 6 for x. So 2 times 6 plus 1. You can type it all in the calculator, or you can do it one step at a time. So 2 times 6 is 12 plus 1 is 13. So that's this. KL, we have something for KL this time. So I can plug in 6 again. 2 times 6 plus 1 is what we just did up there. That's 13. Now you could say, oh, these are both parts, so they should both be the same number. That's fine. And the last one is JL, which is over here we said was the whole, and I actually have something to plug in this time, so we're going to go ahead and plug it in. 3 times 6 plus 8. So 3 times 6 is 18 plus 8 is 26. And in our last question, we just added these to get this number. You could still do the same thing. I know this side's 13, this side's 13. You could just add them together and it would give you 26. Either way, I still got the correct answer, so that's how I know I did it right. If you have questions, please go back and rewatch the video. If there was any parts you didn't understand, maybe pause the video if you're having problems before you go do the guided practice.